1. The antidepressants. Early into loving... Fuck him. I'm just going to call him the unlovable man. He says, "Why are you so sad today? You've got me and everything we need right now." How can I tell him that when he has a polite little spoon curled up beside me that I am thinking I want my absence more than I want his presence? We curl our hands together and I think of his body an anchor. I think of our bed as the ocean. I take deep breaths and imagine how much I want to sink. I go back on antidepressants and tell him for the first time of the sadness I carry with me. I try and pick the right metaphor, but there are not enough metaphors for how much I sometimes want to leave the world. I tell him every day has felt like an absolute lovely party, and I'm the only one left, or the only one who showed up, and there is music playing, and babies, and flowers, and kittens, and good sex, and even though I want it all, I want nothing now. I want to be nothing. He listens as honestly as I think he could have mustered and says, "Taking shit like that is for weak people. You're stronger than that." I know he probably meant well. I stopped taking the meds that night. I ignore my doctor's phone calls and letters. I think when the unlovable man, maybe my brain and nervous system and all the innards of me that make me suicidal will just stop. That if he loves me enough, I can stick around. I start thinking of his kisses as SSRIs, his hugs as controlled breaths, his fucking as a straitjacket. He says, "On the bright side, you can do psychedelics with me anytime now." Fun fact, if you're on any form of antidepressants or mood stabilizers, shrooms, acid, all of them will not work. Your brain will have reconfigured itself. It will have tricked all the receptors into giving you what you need when the pill hits. It will keep you, or anything, from that serotonin flooding, good or bad, from even dripping. It will say, "This is your emotional reality now. Good fucking luck, buddy. Good luck, chump." Two, the acid trip. It's a beautiful day in 2014, and the lovable man and I have just taken 2 hits of homemade acid. As the good vibes slowly start to set in, we go for a long stroll and cackle over the most absurd shit. Yards with miniature fences. People who go by Tom but spell it Thom. How accounting Brenda's new haircut says that either she likes to get choked or she's going to have to speak to someone's supervisor. He says that in the acid light I look like a twirling Stevie Nicks with my siren hair flying. He says, "You are so far and away from anyone I have ever known. I love you in your queerness. I love you in your gender weirdness." He says, "I love your nails and when your eyeliner gets a little smeary." I think it's the psychedelics talking, but I don't give a fuck. I'm a Leo and the least difficult of all men. We've cuddled up on the floor in the living room, watching the shadows do yoga on the walls. He is holding me as I cry and is confused, and I say, I know beside you right now is the happiest I've ever been in my life." He lets me sob into the crook of his shoulder as the acid waves slowly ebb to a stop. We fall asleep fully clothed and wake up to the Sandy Hook shooting. I make an ultimatum to myself at that news break. Compliment a stranger every fucking day. Do not let darkness consume everything. Do not let the last twinklings and twinges of yesterday be lost to gunfire. Now, even 3 years later, I still say, "Oh my God, I love your skirt," or "Wow, cool hat." I wake up to more and more national tragedies, and the unlovable man is nowhere beside me. 3. Canoeing. The unlovable man pulls up one day and says, Get your shit. We're getting out of this fucking city and we're going camping. I throw my bags together. We make an emergency pit stop at his dealer's place for weed and get road beers at the liquor store. 2 hours later, we're at the Black River in Wisconsin, paddling in a fucking rinky-dink canoe, passing a grape white-out blunt between us. We stop along the shores and secluded areas for quickies and smoke breaks. We smell of blueberry kush, sex, and sunscreen. We paddle on, and then, like a 13-year-old's wet dream, we see a crowd of unclothed bodies sunbathing along the river's edge. Surprise, surprise, there's a fucking nude beach, and there are all kinds of bodies. A group of sketchy-looking men come from behind some tall grass, their dicks still snotting. We think, well, we really didn't see an orgy on today's agenda, but you just go with the flow. We set up camp not far from Wiener Beach. We spend the day in our birthday suits. We fuck outside in a thunderstorm. I worry about turning into the next powder with him inside me. If I am to be struck dead, let it be during some really good butt stuff. We bathe in the river and head back to Chicago with the muck still under our nails. I think that maybe this is what I've always wanted. Someone who will just dominate the fuck out of me, who will say, I love the fuck out of the body, out of you, who will say, I want what you've cut and scarred, even if you're too depressed to even get up. I will love you naked, I will love you crying, I will love all the blue in you that you've been trying to get rid of since you can remember. I will love you when you don't love yourself. I will love you even if after I break you. 4. The Art Institute of Chicago. The doctor says early signs, as if blindness is some roadside attraction that we must abso-fucking-lutely stop and check out. I have a panic attack in the office. She holds my hand. She keeps saying more tests and tests and tests, and all I can hear is money and money and money. She says treatable, as if she can take back what she has already said. I can't afford the extra testing because I am already losing a day of pay for this appointment. I call into work sick for the afternoon because fuck capitalism, right? I take the train and cry the whole way, nestled in the little back booth reserved for blunt rolling and homeless piss. I don't care about the stench. I don't care about anything. I chain smoke in front of the Art Institute and lie to my mother about the appointment. I say, it's all great. I've got so much writing to get done. I can't really talk that long. I'll call you when I get home. Love you a ton. Bye. I go inside the Art Institute and sit in front of my favorite painting ever, Nighthawks by Edward Hopper. I pull out my journal and rename the colors to something that when the blindness comes, I'll be able to recall the exact color of each shade with a memory. My sister's red prom dress, the yellow pages of my 8th grade edition of The Giver, my grandmother's black cane. I sit in front of the painting until close. I do not care about crying in front of strangers. As I hop the train, I try my damnedest to look on the bright side. What synesthetic trait might I develop as a coping side effect? I want to taste blue so bad, I bite the inside of my cheeks until they bleed. I want the rust of it. I want the I wants so much, and I want every color now that I know I'll lose them soon. 5. The Skinny Dip. In less than 5 hours, I'll be 29 and naked in Lake Michigan. It's a birthday tradition I started with an unlovable man 6 years ago. My first birthday party in Chicago was Kesha themed. I was all glitter and grunge with a beautiful blue streak across my face. My apartment was so hot with all the bodies dancing that posters started falling off the wall. Our face paint starts dripping. The unlovable man gathers the rowdy crowd all hopped up on cheap vodka and purple headband and says, "Let's take the birthday boy to the beach." Imagine it. A crew of 30 people in hoe clothes and glitter strolling to the beach at 1:45 a.m. We get to the lakeside, and I don't know what came over me. I grabbed that unlovable man and said, let's get naked and get in. Let's all get naked and get in. 60 nipples. Sorry. 61. The unlovable man has 3. Drift into the freezing lake. I start to drift out purposefully. I like the feeling of the lake floor slowly disappearing beneath me as I float farther from the shore. I think of the awakening and how long a body can float. How long until this meat carcass is a raisin lost at sea? Lake? The unlovable man is so far away from me now as I finally have become invisible. The cops are chasing my friends and I am still floating. As I turn back to the shore, I realize how much more of the lake I wanted in my belly, in my hair. I wanted my bones to be filled with fresh water. I hear Fiona Apple singing in my head. We started out sipping the water, and now we slowly swallow the wave, and we try not to let those bastards get us down. We don't worry anymore, because we know when the gulf comes, we get brave. After all, look around, it's happening now. For most of my life, I wanted all the blues in the world to quantify my grief. But I want whatever happens tomorrow more. Naked, tonight I will say again and again, I want